This one doesn't do the countdown either. Oh, we're just live. See, that's the hard part with getting used to Restream versus StreamYard and all that. We just go live. So, hey, everybody, welcome to Winning Fist Bumps. Daniel Willems and I are joined by Jamie Martin, and we're chatting today a little bit about LinkedIn and AI and all fun things for a Friday afternoon. So, welcome, everybody. And Daniel, did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Well, I did. Welcome, everyone. We are looking forward to this one. Just been chatting with Jamie a little bit before this, but it should be a lively discussion.
Absolutely. Well, Jamie, everybody, this is Jamie Martin. Jamie is the founder of Correct Careers Coaching. And Jamie, you and I go back probably 4 or 5 years now, back and forth over the years. So welcome to the show.
We do, Brandon, and that's the beauty of LinkedIn, to keep in touch. And thank you for having me on the show. Excited to be here, and welcome everyone listening today.
Thanks so much. Well, Jamie, tell us everybody a little bit about you and your company, and we'll tell everybody at the end how they can find you if they want to connect with you. But I mean, you've been doing a lot of LinkedIn training and coaching. You work hands-on with lots of individuals. I think that's why your background is going to be so important as we talk about AI and what's happening to people in the midst of all this. But give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, no, I've had a really interesting career journey. Following a psychology degree, I went into the sales sector, and then now over 14 years of selling experience for various different industry. I've done telecommunications, door-to-door sales, one of the toughest sales being in recruitment, and I've had a brilliant career. Really enjoy building relationships and long-lasting relationships. And I set up my own business, Correct Careers Coaching, about 4 years ago now. Hence the name. It was slightly a career coaching company, but following my career in recruitment. And then I found, when I was doing my workshops, my talks, and working with clients of all sizes, sales training was really of interest. A refresher training, customer service training, or elite sales training. That was a real big area. And then as the business developed further, I started, working with bigger size clients in aligning their sales strategy and sales process, as well as the sales training. Because even if you were a great sales person, if you didn't have the right cadence and touch point system and an effective sales strategy, then you certainly will be missing out on opportunities. And as the business developed, and probably where during the times of COVID, LinkedIn become really favorable, really popular. Since COVID, it went up 2,000% in traffic. I've had a good background in LinkedIn, not only from being a headhunter, but using social selling and primarily LinkedIn, being the #1 business to business channel, as a real big platform for building relationships. So right now, in the last year or two, LinkedIn has become very favorable, at least with the clients I'm working with. And these are clients, sole traders up to 106 million turnover businesses, a range of industry sectors. I've probably worked with about 40 industry sectors now, mostly to do with either sales or LinkedIn training. And it really does show there's a huge gap in the market. My thoughts on that are that either people aren't embracing LinkedIn effectively as they should be, and they know they need to now, because it is a new modern sales environment out there. And we have to change the shift in the business world, how to use LinkedIn as part of our customer journey. And that's hence the background is I've created a workshop on LinkedIn, which I feel there's 4 stages to it: having an all-star profile, searching for your future customers, retaining your current customers, doing your social media marketing, and a unique sort of social selling framework. So I really am passionate about supporting those with LinkedIn. And that's why I'm here today. So thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Yeah, so it's interesting. I think that's a great foundation. And Jamie, before we get started on that, you touched on this, but what do you see as like the attitude or the perception change towards LinkedIn, especially with like C-suite leaders, say over the last 3 years? And then I'll tell you what I think I see, but I'd love to hear yours first.
Yeah, there's certainly a change in LinkedIn. It can be used for several different reasons. For bigger size companies, C-suite, talent attraction is definitely one of those areas. And I think the the knockdown effect it has from C-suite down to, you know, lower level staff members is that really the whole company is part of a brand, and everyone should be on there. Everyone should be promoting that business because it's very noisy and it's very competitive. With other size types of businesses, they see that there is a shift because it's got very competitive. A lot of business elements have changed since COVID, and we are in the digital age, the tech and AI. You know, it's forever advancing very rapidly, and if businesses aren't adapting themselves by using such tools as social media like LinkedIn, then they will be missing out on building their and growing their business. So those are my thoughts, Brandon. What about you?
Well, Daniel, what do you think? Because you have a different perspective.
Yeah, so
or a different reference point.
For sure. No, I mean, I think I've talked about it before, but I've only really been using LinkedIn for a year. When I say using, I mean I've had an account for forever. But for me, LinkedIn was always just a resume tool. It was somewhere where I went to look for a job. I wasn't really about connecting with people. It was just, when did I need it and when did I need to jump into it? So I would say over the last year, my thought really has shifted greatly. I mean, of course, with Brandon's influence on how to use LinkedIn. And I guess, so I'm learning more from you guys than anything else when it comes to this piece of it. Technology is kind of my lane that I usually stay in. So I'm learning from you guys. But I guess my question is, how are you able to find people that are you working with people that have this idea of already wanting to use LinkedIn, or are you having to kind of get them to have that desire to even get started? I guess, how are you making that, either one of you, how are you making that transition to say, you need to have this mind shift that I had?
Yeah, it's both sets of people, you know, and you will get individuals who aren't using LinkedIn and know they really need to get on LinkedIn. And this is where, you know, there's a real big gap in the market for that. They see people on it. They know people are using LinkedIn, but they're not. So they need to go right from the beginning and build the foundations of LinkedIn. And then there's another type of LinkedIn users, which probably are using it, doing posts, doing articles, joining groups, and they're using it quite well. But then they're also wondering, why aren't I getting, you know, more meetings booked, or why haven't I progressed the customer journey further? And that's when those types of people will go to AI and further technology to embrace LinkedIn even more. Like LinkedIn Navigator has certainly got its place, and it is an AI tool that LinkedIn, you know, has available as well as other areas LinkedIn has available. But if people aren't using that in the right way, then you're not really gonna, you know, progress the customer journey even further.
Yeah. I think, you know, in 2020 with COVID, I think there was a gap for about a year or so where LinkedIn didn't become, for most people, they didn't like embrace it right away. There wasn't oh my gosh, let's go embrace LinkedIn. I think, like some of us thought or hoped, Jamie, probably you too, like your business would grow if more people embraced LinkedIn. But I think there was a gap there for a while because people were still thinking, oh, we'll just go back to normal. We'll just go back to normal. In my opinion, the reality is the buyer journey had been changing even before COVID, and COVID did accelerate it. But there was a lot of people that sat in this, oh, we're just going to go back to normal. Let's just go back to doing things the way we did. We're going to get on planes. We're going to go to conferences, keep making the calls, keep sending out the cold emails. And somewhere over the last 2 years, all of that buyer journey stuff, the detail, is starting to catch up to leadership, and specifically in revenue creation. And I believe that we're in a pivotal time right now where more leaders who were resistant to using LinkedIn or believing that LinkedIn really had value versus the traditional outreach are they're more willing to look at it because their revenues are dropping, their pipelines are not full, their qualified pipelines are not full. And I think also from that, predicting the pipeline or predicting the revenue, and just a total confusion over why isn't this outreach stuff working like it used to. And I think they're finally hitting a fear. I don't know if it's a fear, it's a frustration, it's desperation. but I think more of them are looking up going, okay, what do I do?
Mhm.
What do you think about that, Jamie?
Yeah, and you're right. Then the fact that the shift was pre-COVID, it has been, for many years now, and the way the sales industry, customer service industry, the way we are working and buying from people has changed. We naturally buy 90% based on our emotions anyways, rather than rational thinking. And we need to implement into the sales process and strategy a more of a personal touch. So there's a famous quote by Tony Robbins: people tend to like each other who are like each other, and it's true.
Mhm.
If we all have different learning modalities, we all have different ways of corresponding. So one of you could be more auditory led, or one of you could be more visual. So if I'm going to use a platform, it could be LinkedIn, it could be email, it could be phone calls, it could be video conferencing and face-to-face meetings. I need to build a common ground with my prospect. And where the shift has changed is that we need to go back to working with people, buying from people, synergize with them, and it's that renowned know, like, and trust term out there. And it's now more than ever, I think, appropriate, because there's loads of businesses out there. There's loads of competitors. Each one of them in their own right could have a brilliant product and a brilliant service. But what's missing is the personal touch and interacting with the person. If you're going to part with money, no one particularly likes to part with money. You want to know that it's going to be trusted and someone's going to look after your account and your business. So why LinkedIn is super important in this area now is because people can go on there, visually see you and your business. But if they're visually seeing a person, knowing that they can work with that person or that employee as part of a company, and they can see they're being authentic and credible, and look at the recommendations and look at the types of thought leadership articles they're putting out, then that naturally increases that emotional response to that person. And we all don't want to go on an automated service. We don't want to be talking to a chat box. We want to be interacting with someone, because if we're all completely honest, it is challenging times. Business is particularly quite tough as well, due to the changes we've had in the last few years. So we really need to build long-lasting relationships with people, and LinkedIn definitely has is a gap in the market for demonstrating to businesses why you should work with this individual or this company. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, those are good thoughts, and a lot of them. Daniel, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that those are all really good ideas, and it's a good reason to be personal on LinkedIn. But I think we're getting close into the middle of the way through the show, and we really haven't really dove into the title. I don't feel, at least, like the tech and how we're going to use it in 2024. Before I say that, though, anyone in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, anything you want to add, we'll definitely put that up on the screen and talk about it.
I love how the developer tech guy on the show said, okay, now let's get to the good stuff, which is tech. And Jamie and I were kind of geeking out on all the like relationship building stuff.
Hey, that's kind of why I got into using LinkedIn, was the connections I started making. So even though I'm a developer, it's what I found joy in on LinkedIn, was making connections with real people, having real meetings face to face, talking with other technical or just people in general like Jamie, and meeting you guys. But I just think that for where things are headed, it's easy to do, to use the easy button for LinkedIn and say, I want to use automations, cold outreach, like basically turning cold emails into cold DMs on LinkedIn. And then using AI to create all my posts and my comments, and basically just clicking a button to be you on LinkedIn. So I think it'd be good to talk about that as well.
Yeah. And I think Jamie, you set up, sorry, real quick. I think you set that up real well, because what you were talking about are, what are the right activities that we should be doing? And you referenced the know, like, and trust, which is more important than ever. And I think post-COVID, people are feeling more isolated. They don't have as much connection, and LinkedIn and other social platforms are a great place to get that. However, we have to show up authentically and humanly and personally. And then we bring in this AI thing, this, big 8,000 pound, not even an 800-pound gorilla, this big 8,000 pound gorilla that we plop right in the middle of it. And I do believe there's a potential rift, or there's a potential synergy with using AI, but it's going to really depend on the way people use AI to what you were saying, Daniel. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, you're absolutely right. Tech is there. For example, GitVisbump's a great SaaS tool, and it reminds you how to, how and when to interact with someone. And people need that in a very busy world. And there's certainly some other great, AI platforms. And you can use a LinkedIn AI to write you some posts. This can help you with some innovative ideas, and it can save you time. And if you're connecting with hundreds of people, then you need to have a response to them, and it certainly has a place in the market. And it's there's a really great platform out there as well, Crystal Knows. So hence what I was already talking about. Crystal Knows gives you an AI approach to what is this person like, what are their likes, their dislikes, how do you communicate with them. So absolutely, technology and LinkedIn in 2024 is going to be big. It's going to increase. People need to understand what AI tools they need to be using to make sure it's effectively right for them, and how to develop one step further on LinkedIn. Where there is a gap in the market right now in that conversation is AI can't do everything on LinkedIn. So you don't just want to rely on it. So for example, if someone's engaged with, say, a poll of yours, they voted on a poll, the right thing to do in building a social selling relationship would be to thank that person for voting on the poll and take that conversation one step further. AI wouldn't do that. So, and it's the difference between what AI can do for you and what it can't do for you on LinkedIn. And that's the progression of tech and AI in 2024. And this can only be led by data and analytics. So what's happening right now, and maybe break it down even further to, the individual or the business, where they're getting like their revenue from on LinkedIn, what part of the cadence system, using the social talent touch points, are they getting a discovery call out of that? And then if they are converting that prospect, that's where they should focus their efforts on using certain AI. Do you see what I'm sort of saying?
Sure.
Daniel, I'm really curious what you're like. I feel like I want to move in moderator mode and say, Daniel,
no. It's all good.
Yeah, no. Because I think it's a good conversation, because I know you're gonna look at that from a bit of a different perspective because of the way you look at AI and what AI can do to enhance the human.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, it's one of those things that I think I've compared it before to like a cooking knife. There's many different ways you can use it. You can use it to prepare a wonderful meal, or you can, cut up a PB&J, or even like cut off your own finger. So like AI can be used in many different ways, and there's going to be people that are going to abuse it and misuse it. Go into ChatGPT or whatever tool and say, give me a LinkedIn post, and that's all you give it as a prompt, and it's going to be pretty terrible. Or you could give it more information, or you could actually, the things like we're doing, which is actually fine tuning a model so that those responses you get would be in your own tone, in your own voice, and your own stories based on chatting with it. So I think there's definitely different ways to use it. I guess I would ask, Jamie, do you mind letting us know, or kind of giving us a little bit into your secret sauce? Is that when you're training others, are you at any point giving AI tools or AI recommendations, AI to help write posts, or is it all more of an authentic approach to using LinkedIn?
It's a mixture of both. I feel
it is a mixture. Okay.
It is, and I mostly do recommend Crystal Knows and GitVisbumps as my two most important ones right now, because I feel there's areas you need to work on organically, hence the background. And then once you've mastered that, then you can certainly take tools one step further. But there's some great AI tools out there, like creating ideas of posts. I think that really will help people who not necessarily are a copywriter or know how to find that daunting for them. And for those who have been experienced, in doing posts many times for many years, you could go back to older posts and regurgitate that and see how it changes it. So, it's certainly brilliant tech out there. And when we talked about audio and visuals, there's AI to help transcribe into imagery, into videos, into audios, and use that tool when you are communicating with people on LinkedIn. So yeah, absolutely. There's so many areas that tech can really help.
Sure. What was that other tool that you mentioned? Crystal something? I hadn't heard of that
Crystal Knows.
Crystal News. Okay. I'll take a look. I'm always into.
Crystal Knows is like a competitor to Humantic AI, which I know you know about. It's
Yes.
it assesses a profile and gives you like a disc profile, and then tells you, like, based on their assumed disc profile, here's ways to communicate. And I actually, I mean, I think it's a great concept. I think it's a good tool. I've used it, but here's also my concern is that there's a lot of people out there who pay somebody to create their profile.
Mm.
And so does it really represent them, or does it represent the writer? You know, and I think and the reason I bring it up is I don't know the right answer, but I do think that there are nuances to AI. There's nuances to technology that we need to think about, which is if you come blindly into Humantic AI or Crystal Knows and go, oh my gosh, if I use this, it's going to tell me exactly how to speak to the person. Will it? And also, the best way to learn how to speak to a person is to actually speak to the person.
Sure.
Right? I mean, I just think there's some of those nuances that are going to have big impacts, but too often we don't think about those and we just go straight to, oh, the easy button. This made life easier for me, so I'm going to start using it without thinking through some of those details where tech has the opportunity to miss.
Sure. And I agree with, I mean, almost always, I should say I always agree with Mark Clausen with his comments, you know, that he said, I leverage AI for thought starters or to expand my thinking, but I want my voice and ideas expressed in my post.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of the most difficult thing is how to express your own voice and your own ideas in your posts. Because a lot of times these tools are inspired by other people's posts, which is a good start, but it's not really going to express who you are. And, you know, one of these scheduling tools I just played around with, it gives you inspiration, but it's inspiration based from other creators and other writers.
Yeah.
So it's not really your voice as much.
Yeah. Jimmy, I'm curious, how do you, and then Daniel, I'd like for you to relate it to tech and AI. Jimmy, how do you coach, say, a newbie on how to create social post content for themselves?
It's basically along the lines of, really, what are you passionate about? Why are you doing what you are doing? It's easy just to show off your services in a post, but people don't really want to see that. People want to see what's in it for them, basically. They want to see how you can help their business. So they kind of want to work with someone who, you know, has a growth mindset, has a real passion for what they do. Some individuals I've been working with recently, businesses, they've transferred from corporate to setting up their own company, or they run quite a, you know, good consultancy business, and then they've gone and done completely something different, like, you know, health and well-being. And I'm like, tell me why are you doing this? Like, I really want to know. And they've got that story, they've got that passion. Now, if they're demonstrating that in their social media marketing, that's where the authenticity comes in. That's where the credibility comes in. And that's when you decide you will want to work with them, because you know why they're doing what they're doing. And effectively, if we love what we do, you are going to put well over 100% plus into that. And that's the people you really want to work with. The other thing I would say is about talking about the outcomes. So when we're working with a business, new or existing, you know, we like to know the process. What happens at the discovery call stage? What's then going to happen when I commit to working with you? What's the T's and C's? What's the process, whether it's a product or service? And then, you know, what's the follow-up? What's the outcome? If you talk about the process you have with customers on LinkedIn, people in that emotional buy-in state get, you know, less worried about working with you. They know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, you know, and understand that. And then the rationality behind it is great. I know what, you know, we're going to be doing next. And then the outcomes, so results, achievements. You can do some of your testimonial Tuesdays as LinkedIn has a, you know, renowned post, you know, people posting around that, and that's fine, because we like to see the wins. We like to see happy customers, because and we like to see the recommendations. So yeah, those would be the areas I would encourage people to post about. Definitely write an article, and then you can even, like, you know, chunk that into smaller posts and post that as a weekly series, and get people excited about what you're talking about next.
Yeah, that's good. Now, Daniel, from the AI tech perspective, how would you help somebody implement what Jamie would coach them to do?
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to know a little bit more about how he's doing. Are you interviewing them and then taking that transcript and help writing posts for them, or are you giving back ideas for posts and they write it? What's the steps there, if you don't mind me digging in a little more in your stuff?
It's mostly a mixture of both. I like to train people to use LinkedIn for themselves,
Okay.
rather than doing the social content, because effectively long lasting, they are going to be the one managing their profile and business. But
Okay.
if they need pointers, then certainly I will guide them or even refer them to, expert post writers. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, then that makes sense. Because I've worked with some ghostwriters in the past and kind of worked through their process. And we did the interviews, and the posts they wrote were good. I mean, they're professionals at what they do, was good. But I still had my tweaks, and I basically ended up changing it a lot of times for how I speak. So I think if you ask me how I would implement AI in this way, it would be very similar in that I would want to have a discussion with AI more as a conversational. It would ask me a question and I would respond, and then take that conversation and turn it into a post via AI. And then I would probably still want to have my last little take on it until it got to the point where I think it could write it well enough where I would have to do very little of an edit. So I think it would be very close to this human interaction that you're doing, but having it more of a conversational style instead of just feeding it a whole lot of my posts and prompts and then see what it spits out. I'd rather have more of a human conversation.
Agreed.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and hey, Mark Clausen, thanks for jumping in. And I know, Mark, you're doing a lot of work with the IBMers around helping them discover their authentic voice and adding their recommendations and all that. I always appreciate when you jump in and share what you're doing. Jamie, I wanted to see where my agenda notes were. What do you anticipate is going to happen in the first quarter of 2024? And I'm just saying first quarter because it's a coming upon us, and it's easy to talk about the end of the year and here comes a new year. But what do you see trending and moving over the next, say, 3 to 4 months in LinkedIn?
I don't see tech advancing any more than it probably is right now, other than, a few tweaks. It's about, first of all, more companies actually embracing LinkedIn and using it well for business and implementing that appropriately into their sales strategy, their cadence process. That's what I envision happening. I've had a few conversations with businesses who may have used Navigator in the past, hasn't necessarily worked for them. And I kind of encourage them to go back to the foundations of LinkedIn, creating an all-star profile, using it as a networking tool, relationship building tool in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a big shift will happen, is that it will be from C-suite down, and they will say, look, we need to go, and maybe we need more retraining on LinkedIn to know how to optimize it, how to use it effectively, and then start implementing more tech in there for those companies that haven't used it in the right way yet. That would be my thoughts for the first quarter.
Yeah, that's Daniel, I want to get to you to ask that same question, but I think I agree with you on that too, Jamie. I think a lot of people need to get back to the basics, get back to the foundation of, number one, I spoke to a CEO group last week or earlier this week. Thanksgiving right in the middle makes me feel like I'm in a new week today. But, and I asked room full of CEOs, what's your perception of LinkedIn? And half the room were still thinking, oh, it's a place where you put your resumes. Like, that was it. It was very limited. And I think it's expanded so much into being a more, true social network with posting and engaging and creating conversations and all that. That I do think that there is a need for people to at least understand the value proposition of using LinkedIn. That could be very different than what they think, especially a lot of C-suite that they just think, oh, it's a place my employees go when they're looking for a new job, so I hate it, type of thing. But Daniel, same question for you from that technology side. Like, what do you think or see is going to happen with LinkedIn over the next 4 months?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been having this conversation a lot with more friends and family. We just had a 50th anniversary over the weekend, and somebody that I hadn't seen in a while goes, "Oh, I saw you were going live on Friday," and we started talking, and he doesn't use LinkedIn, and a lot of the people I'm talking to aren't using LinkedIn, but I feel that there's going to be a much bigger shift there, where the message is getting out, that there's more value on LinkedIn than what you're saying, and also to mix with that AI. I'm talking with people, and they still, the majority of people I talk to don't really even understand it yet. But I think next year will be the year of both LinkedIn and AI becoming much more mainstream, both of them.
Interesting. Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, no,
what he said.
I agree with Daniel. Again, we're back to earlier conversation. There would be kind of two different types of businesses. People, the people who haven't used LinkedIn right now, and they're gonna, embrace that further so, and they need to start at the basics at the beginning. But for those companies who have been using LinkedIn for many years, they are going to be definitely exploring tech, using more tech and AI, and amalgamating the two to get the most effective out of utilizing LinkedIn. As we can see, it can be very powerful. Socially selling can be done in the right way, and tech can certainly help you do that. And I think it's very exciting times, because even with this tech and AI, we don't have to always lose that human touch, because say we use an AI tool to write a post, we can still go and edit it in our authentic voice as well. So.
And I know Nora's trying to wrap us up, but I do want to, like, something I just thought about from that conversation, it just popped in my head that I've thought a few times, is like the fact that I spoke with somebody who doesn't use LinkedIn. He doesn't. I mean, he told me that, but he got a notification that I was going live. So it's like these emails that LinkedIn is sending, they're basically gold for you to cold outreach. It's not even cold outreach. It's a warm outreach, because he knows who I am. I brought him into LinkedIn to see what I was doing. And you're at a very important point here, where it's not being used as heavily. If you can start using it, leveraging it, those emails are going to be sent to your network that aren't using LinkedIn to say, "Hey, this guy's doing, or girl's doing stuff on LinkedIn. Why don't you check it out?" I think there's a ton of value there that you can take advantage of right now, that might not be as valuable in 2 or 3 years when more people are on LinkedIn.
That's good. What I'd like to do then, because Nora is pushing us, thank you, Nora, for keeping us on track, is I'm going to do a little summary of the show. And then, Daniel, I'm going to ask you to comment on it. And Jamie, I'll let you comment on it and give you let you have the last word of the show. And then we'll let you tell everybody where they can find you. And then we'll wrap up and let people go on with their Friday afternoon. So here's what I heard, is that the value of LinkedIn to connect human to human, be authentic, and really have your own voice, and focus on that know, like, and trust, which is where a lot of emotional decisions, or a lot of people make decisions, is still very, very valuable. AI may have some negative effects to it, but I think overall it's going to have, or I believe overall it will have some positive effects to it. I think that the real winners in 2024 are probably going to be LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn use is going to go up dramatically. And I think there's still a lot of opportunity for the coaches, at least the good coaches that are talking around the authenticity and the connection and the human touch, are going to win and grow. I think a lot of the automations that are sending, AI-driven cold messages that drip into my inbox 8 times over the next 2 months, like using LinkedIn for email, for cold email, I think those are going to start. I think those companies are going to start losing a little bit of traction, because as more people use LinkedIn, more people are going to get annoyed by the cold outreach. So that's kind of my summary and my opinion of what we talked about today. And Jamie, you know what? You're the guest. Do you want to go? You want to take your turn now or after Daniel?
I was just going to say ditto and then move on.
That's because you just want to finish, because we said 30 minutes and we're at 34.
I don't want to get in trouble with Nora. That's the main thing.
That's true.
I'll keep it brief.
You're good.
Everyone needs to be using LinkedIn a lot more today, and more so in 2024. Okay, we recognize the importance of LinkedIn. understand what you're actually using it for. If you're using it for networking and branding, then you need to be visible. If you're looking for a career change, talent attraction, then you may be doing slightly different activities on LinkedIn. I would say most importantly, for those people who are using it as part of a customer journey, is to talk to your ICP, your ideal customer profile, okay? Because you can't talk to everyone on LinkedIn. It's the people that you want to be working with and who want to be working with you. That's how you need to adapt your profile, do your social media marketing, and do social selling in the right way.
Yeah, that's good, Jamie. And I think you're right. I do think that more people are going to start looking at LinkedIn from a different lens, and hopefully they see the lens of engagement and conversation and authenticity, so that we could keep LinkedIn. I believe LinkedIn was too stuffy for a long time. I think now it's getting more personal and engaging, just like a networking event or taking a customer out to dinner where you talk about life as well. To your point of that know, like, and trust scale. And hopefully we'll be able to keep pushing that and not so much of the cold pitch slaps. But
Yeah,
Jamie,
I would add one
go
thing.
ahead.
I was beyond ditto. I would say that the big difference, though, is because LinkedIn's obviously a social network, is that we shouldn't be using it, or my recommendation is don't use it like the other social networks. It's not TikTok, it's not Twitter, it's not Facebook. You don't scroll just looking for things. Create a system and use that system to use LinkedIn and have a very time-boxed way of using it. And that's how you're going to be most successful and least frustrated. So that's my thoughts on it moving forward.
Yeah, that's good. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your experience and expertise, of course. And Jamie, if anyone's listening and they want to reach out and connect with you and learn from you or hire you or anything else, what's the best way for people to do that?
Yeah, I'm happy to share my mobile number. It's on the, because that's the best way of talking to someone. That's on the screen, but 075 99 33 2178. Or please do connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd like to build connection and relationships with you. And it's Jamie Martin 111 on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And Jamie, is your mobile number also the same WhatsApp number? So if anyone international uses WhatsApp, they can connect you that way. Perfect. I love that about WhatsApp, is that all of a sudden we can text people everywhere in the world without the big bill. So, all right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on Winning Fist Bumps. Daniel, Jamie, fist bump to you. Thank you so much. And we don't have a guest lined up next week. Our friend Rob Fagan had something come up and he was unable to join us next week. So we got to figure out a guest next week, which means if someone's out there, you're listening and you want to be a guest on the show and come join us and talk about this, and we'd love to have you. So
For sure.
have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much.
See you next week.
See you next time.
Bye.